And welcome everybody. So this week, first I want to address last week. So we did have some issues with both the GoToWebinar software and the recording. So on the user guide, if you go scroll down, the call from last week, last Monday, or this Monday, however you want to say it, is up already, but there's actually two versions of it. So, well, this is actually the recording from the webinar, and below it, I actually recorded a little section that was missing. It seemed like as soon as I started that Jing software, there was some kind of a conflict with GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar, and so that froze the screen up, and it was frozen for a good portion, as you guys know, if you were on the call. But I did re-record that portion, and I posted it as a second video right here. All right, so if you guys want to watch that part, it's just that section, because then it started working again when I reset everything. All right, having said that, I want to just make sure we're good here. All right, so what I want to talk about real quickly today is I do get some calls on the following. Basically, the Investment Dominator is set up for both of Jack's real estate investing methods. So we invest in land. That's our primary technique that we do in-house, and we also, the primary technique that we teach. But we also teach the Flip It Fast formula, which is the house side of things. It's the wholesaling. And so the Investment Dominator is set up for both. Now, a lot of, especially the new people joining, have purchased the land profit generator, and so they only know about the land. They're only focusing on the land, which is perfectly fine. And I get the question often, how do you remove the house section? Now, the reason we have both built in is when you send out your mailings for land, primarily you're going to get landowners call you back because you're doing that filter. Every once in a while, you'll get somebody that put a house or a mobile home on the property, didn't report it to the county, so you're kind of dealing with a property with a house on it or some kind of a structure on it anyways. The other thing is you may come across from time to time somebody that owns pieces of land, but they also own a house that they're willing to sell. So sometimes you'll get an investor that just wants to liquidate a bunch of property. And in that case, you want to treat the houses a little bit differently. So in the back end of the Investment Dominator, you can't really remove the section for the house, nor do you want to, because if you come across a house, which you will at some point, if you do this business long enough, you want to be able to not kind of waste that opportunity. You want to process it and put an option under it or put it under contract, and then go flip it to a flip the contract to somebody like a rehabber or even a landlord looking for a rental property. And that's all covered in Jack's Flip It Fast formula technique. But in the beginning, if you want to just focus on land and you don't want to show this Sell Your House tab, which is a completely different form, and if somebody fills this out, it goes under the house deals section of your site. If you want to just remove that, there's an easy way that we built in, and that's under Customize Site. And then you want to be under Website Settings Buying, and this is your buying site again. So if you're under this tab here, there's a Edit Buying Site menu option, and when you click on it, it has the different, basically the options on your menu. If you look up here, it says Home, Sell Your Land, Sell Your House, Contact Us. And it's the same thing here, Home, Sell Your Land, Sell Your House, Contact Us. This is the header. This is the footer menu, which is at the bottom of the site right here. To remove the house section, all you really have to do is drag this out of the bottom part here and into this area called Not Set. All right. So once you do that, it's going to remove the house section. Now, when you save this, come back to your site here, you can see that it dropped your menu item here, both on the header here and on the footer. So now, even though you still have the house section built into the back end here. So if somebody calls in and say, hey, I really have a house, you can still process them under the house section. That doesn't go away. But as far as the front end of your website, it's been removed. All right, so that's, I just wanted to cover that quick thing because I do get that question often, and that's perfectly fine if you just want to focus on land. All right, so having said that, let's see if we have any questions yet, and if we do, I can start taking them. So there's a chat box on the GoToWebinar software there, screen there, and under the question box, if you have any questions this week for me, go ahead and type them in there. And in the meantime, I don't see any right now. So what I'm going to do is actually talk about another topic that I get asked quite a bit from new students, and that is if you are brand new to the software and you're kind of testing things without actually sending out your mailings and stuff, which is perfectly fine, trying to get used to the software and how it looks and everything. One of the things I always get asked is, how come these IDs don't bring up the right person when you're looking them up, right? So one of the things is we have actually two IDs in the system. This ID that's displayed here is actually the ID of the property. And then the one that is the ID that's actually printed on your letter is an ID for the owner. And the reason we have two different IDs is because it is very common for an owner to own multiple properties. The other question I get all the time is if you have no records into the system and then you load in 300 records, let's say, your IDs might go from like 1 to 200 or 1 to 250, but not to 300. And the reason is because, again, the system is trying not to create duplicates. So it's not going to create a duplicate owner if there's a same mailing address for the owner. It's just going to create one record and one ID for that owner. But if that owner owns multiple properties, it'll create, let's say that the owner owns 5 properties. It's going to create 5 different records, and those 5 different records are going to have their own property ID. So if you're in this kind of state where you haven't sent out the mailing yet, and you kind of want to practice how you would take a call when it comes in, or you're trying to train, your VA or your call center, here's the best way to go about that, so that you're not confused about these IDs. That is to select the record that you want to kind of play around with. So in this case, I'm going to select this record right here, and you can see the ID this is the property ID again. This is 43044, right? But if I select this and I actually generate the document just for this one person, you'll notice that when the letter actually goes out, it goes out with this ID, which is at the bottom here, which is 23502, okay, which is totally different than if we go back here to the property ID. Okay, they don't correlate at all. So, and that's perfectly fine, because the proper way to process this person is when they call in, they're going to do one of two things. Well, they're either going to call you for one thing, or they're going to follow the instructions on here, which is to go to your website, click the Sell Your Land tab, which is over here, and they're going to fill out this form. So they're either going to come over here themselves and put in their name, first name, last name, and then that reference number, which again is this one right here, 23502. So they can process it this way. Or if they call you, the proper way to do it is when they call you, you're going to go under your land deals, because it's a land deal, and you're going to go under here where it says owner ID, letter reference number, and then you're going to ask them, what is your letter reference number? Okay, they're going to give you that number, which is printed on their letter, because they don't have this number printed on the letter. When you do that, you can bring up their one record, and this is the correct one here. But again, the property ID is totally different. All right, so I see this quite a bit, especially in this stage where you're playing around with it, but you haven't quite sent out the letters. It kind of all makes sense when you actually send out the letters and they call back. And as long as you're looking up the right, or you're referencing the right ID here, which is the one that we mark with letter reference number, then it's perfectly fine. The same thing is if they go to the website, if they enter in the letter that's on the if they enter in the information that's on the letter here, which is this ID here and their name, so they would put their name up here, John, and put his last name over here. Oops. Right? Yep. Then they click next. It's actually going to look up his record. Okay. So all they really need to enter in at that point is the phone number. If they have an email address, they enter that in. It's optional. They got to choose this, and it's going to put it right away into the next status, which is the pending preliminary status. And that brings me to my next point. So that when you receive the call, the first thing that you want to do is take it out of whatever status it is currently in, which in reality would be the mailed letter 1 status, and you are going to change that to the pending preliminary research status. Okay, that's something you manually have to do if they're calling in. If they go through the website, it's automatically done for you. But if they call in, you want to open up the record here, and the first thing you want to do is change this to the next status down. Okay, usually it's in the mailed letter 1 when you've mailed the letter, but when they call in, you're going to move it 1 status down into the pending preliminary research status. And what that does, it puts it in the correct bucket. And we talked about buckets a couple weeks ago, but basically it's this report. These are what we consider buckets. And one of the buckets that we have here are offer requests. So it's going to put that record in the correct bucket so that on the day that you make offers, this record is going to be sitting there waiting for you to make an offer. Okay, so that's the proper way to do things here. And I'm going to go ahead and check the questions. Looks like we don't have any questions so far, which is great. Just if you do have any questions, let me know. I'm going to actually hang out on this call until 10:30 here, and I'll go over a few more things. If you want me to show you something in particular too, you don't necessarily have a question, but you want to see a certain demonstration, go ahead and type that into the question box as well, and I'll be happy to show you some kind of a demonstration there. All right, since we don't have any questions, I'm going to move on to something else. We last week added a new feature. I don't know if you've checked out the changelog. We did, like I said, the last call, we did add a changelog to the user guide. But one of the new features is, I want to go over that, is reordering, rearranging pictures, which is kind of cool. We've had this feature request for a while, and we finally got it in last week. So how that works is, and this is more on when you get the property under contract and you're building your listing. Let me go to my deals here and pull one of these listings here. So as you go, you make your offer, they accept your offer, and now you get to the stage where it's either in escrow or complete ready to sell. And this is where you're going to start building your listing so that it shows up on your selling site, and you can start marketing your property. So everything in regards to your listing is actually saved under this section called property listing. So you've got your headline, you've got your subheadline, your property description, and then kind of a mandatory field in order to generate the listing is the sale price, the amount that you want to sell the property for. So let's just say that that's going to be $9,000. Now, you can see here under attached photos, I've got 2 photos already. I'm going to go ahead and add some more photos to this property. These are just random photos, and you just select them from your computer and you upload them. Now, as you may or may not know, the ones that are marked public are the ones that actually show up on your website. So you can, for example, if you don't want this photo to show up on your website, you just leave it blank. But this one I want it to show up, so I'm going to mark as public, and this one. So according to this, I've got 4 photos that are going to show up on my listing. And then if I want to add a caption here, I can do that here. But what you want to do is save the record first. So I want to click Update Record. That saves the record. Then I'm going to go back to this Attach Photos. And let's just say that I want this one right here, or actually this one of the city, to be the first image that shows. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it over. And that makes it the first photo. Okay, I just rearranged the order of it. And if I take a look at the listing now, you can see that the picture of the city is on top, and then you've got the one of the deer or the elk, and then all these other ones. So again, if you want to now rearrange it, I can put this one right here at the beginning, and come back over here. I'm going to hit refresh, and you can see now that one moved to the top. So this is a good way for you to rearrange your photos in, Jack talks about this hourglass style of creating a listing, which is basically you start with a broader area, like the city, the closest city that the property is located near. So even if the property is, let's say, 20 miles outside of this city, you start with that, and then you kind of move to the general area of the property, then the property itself, and then kind of back out again. So it almost forms like this hourglass of description of this area. That's one of the techniques Jack talks about in creating an effective listing. So now you can really do that with photos. So we're really excited about this new update. Hope you guys enjoy it. And that's how you do it. And let's see here. I'm going to check to see if we got any questions. We did get some stuff coming through. Okay. All right, so Dewey says, I've ended up with a ton of duplicates as letter recipients did not type their reference number and they got confused with the APN apparently. What is the best way to merge the duplicate records? Okay, excellent question. Here's the way to do it. So we are working on a merge function that we will implement soon. So that will be a little bit more automatic. But in the meantime, here's how we do that. Number one is we do have an article on the user guide that talks about how to, all the ways to prevent duplicates and stuff. What you're describing, there's no real way around that other than on your, let me go over here, other than on your selling site, what we like to do is under the Sell Your Land tab, we actually put a video right here and really introduce yourself and then really make it clear what they need to do. So on the investment, if we go to YouTube and then we go to Investment Dominator, we have a YouTube channel, and then where is that one? Actually, I just saw it back here. Yeah, the sample video, we do something like this. In this video, Christine is showing the watcher the letter that we send out, and then she's pointing to the reference number. Okay, so it's only a 20-second video, and you can create something just as easily, right? So that introduces you, like, hey, I'm an investor, I'm looking in land in your area, kind of paraphrasing what's in the letter. And then what the important part of that video is that it's showing the letter that they received, and it points out the reference number, and it describes exactly what they should do, okay? And that prevents a lot of these mishaps where people are not entering in their name and they're not entering that reference number, because you are correct. If they don't enter in their name, or if they don't enter in their reference number and their name that was printed on the letter itself, then there's no way for the system to retrieve that information, and therefore they're creating a brand new record. Okay, so that's where you get this case of a duplicate. And unless there's some kind of a video really describing it, you have a higher chance that somebody's going to fill it in wrong because they're not paying attention. Now, if they call in, you can kind of control how you enter in things and prevent duplicates. So that's a little bit better. But there's always going to be some cases where a duplicate record might be created, because we don't want to reject their submission just because they forgot to put the reference number on there. There are cases where somebody just finds your site on Google wants reads through it and like, oh yeah, I want to offer on my piece of land. They fill it out. In that case, they don't have a reference number. So this is not a required field. All right, so having said all that, I would add the video and everything to try to prevent this. But when it does happen, and it will occasionally happen, what you want to do is when you open the record up, one thing that you'll notice is when you go to save the record, it'll come up with an error. And let me see if I can reproduce this somehow. So this property right here, I think this is in the same, yeah, these are in the same county. So if I go over here and I try to save this record with the same exact APN number, the system is going to reference the APN number, the county that the property is in, and the state. So if I try to save this right now, the system is going to tell me that there's a duplicate. Okay, and this is probably what's happening with you. Now, you didn't create the duplicate, the person that came to your website did. So the only way to fix that is add something to the end of the APN, like temp or something like that. This will allow you to save the record, so you can do your research and stuff. But what you really want to do is take the information from the new record that they created and actually copy and paste it over to the original record, the one that you first mailed to them. All right, so you literally want to look up the original record by ID, how it should have been referenced basically. Pull that record up and you want to open that in a new tab. So if you right click over the edit and you say open in a new tab, let's just say that this was the original record and then here's your duplicate, then you open that one up in a new tab, and so you've got like two tabs. One is your original record, and the other one is the duplicate that the owner created. And what you want to do is just move over the information from the new record. So, for example, they might have entered in their email address in the new record, their phone number in the new record. Obviously, the status is going to be different, right? Your original one is probably still going to be under mailed letter 1. And it needs to be moved to pending preliminary research. The new one is already moved over there because they filled it out through the website. But you want to update all the information over and just literally come over here, copy or cut, and then come over here and paste it in your old record. Once that is done, you can just delete the new record. You don't need the new record anymore. That's just going to mess up the history of everything. And you keep the original record with all the information, and that's the one that you should be working off of. Okay, so it's a little bit of a workaround, and that's why we try to prevent the duplicates in the first place by putting a video there, try to explain things as clearly as possible, and then also if we're processing it ourselves, we process it a certain way by always looking up the reference ID and editing that original record. And with that, you cut down your duplicates to maybe 1 or 2 out of a mailing, and then you can, easily do this process. Having said that, we are working on an automatic option that would just allow you to select the duplicate records like this and then just merge them from an option here. So that's something that's coming soon. But in the meantime, the process I just went over is the way that you would handle that. Hopefully that answers your questions. Let me know if you have any additional questions on that. All right, so we have some more coming in. So how difficult would it be to change the name of my website, and will my old website have to forward or site moved forward or site moved page? Okay, so it's not difficult to change your website. You just go over to customize site, and then whether it's your buying site or your selling site, it doesn't matter. The settings are both, if it's your buying site, let's say, then you click on website settings buying. You're going to change your domain here. So if you had your old domain here, then you just come back over here and you type in your new domain, and then you click change domain. So that's how easy it is. The important part is this, that you want to make sure that your new domain is pointing the host record, the A record, is pointing to our server, okay? So this has to be done first. That's the most important part. If this part is not done, then when you switch it here, nothing's really going to happen. So as long as you've got your new domain pointing to our server, and you come over here and you can basically change it any time. I mean, to give you an example, I mean, you could register 5 domains. If they all point to the Investment Dominator server, you can go in here and you can change one every day if you want. You know, you just go in here and change it. That's how easy it is, as long as it's pointing to our server. Now, to answer your question about the forwarding, now that might get a little bit tricky if you've already sent out letters that had the old domain on it. That's the one thing I would worry about, because people do keep these letters for a long time. We have people calling us from mailings that we did 2 years ago, and that's not uncommon. I mean, quite a bit. You know, there's a lot of people that call us off of that. They might have not been ready at that time, and then later on, you know, after a year or two, they got their tax bill. They're like, oh, now, yeah, I definitely want to sell. Who is that company that offered me what back in the day, you know, to buy my land? They look us up and they call us. So in the case that you've already sent out a bunch of mailings with your old domain, then yes, what you would want to do there is configure your new domain, right, so that your Investment Dominator is hosted on the new domain. Once that's done, go back into your GoDaddy or wherever you have, whatever registrar you've registered your domain with, and forward, create just a regular forward at that point to the new website domain. That will allow people that basically have your letter from a while ago to type in the old domain, and then they get magically redirected to the new site. Everything looks fine to them. There might be some question in their mind like, oh, why did it redirect to a brand new site? But for the most part, I don't think you're going to lose any business that way, and then everything's going to be fine. Now, having said that, and this is something that, you know, depending on your domain register, how it is with GoDaddy is when you create that forward, it's a different section than actually updating the host records, but you will have to point the host records back to the GoDaddy server for the forward to work. So if that's a little bit confusing to you, call GoDaddy, because they have really great support and they can walk you through that. Just tell them like, hey, originally I had this domain hosted with another company, with another server, but what I want to do is now forward the domain, and they'll be able to walk you through that. But basically you have to remove the record, the A record that you created that points to our server, that points to here. You've got to remove that, and then you've got to create the forward. So that's kind of the process, but I would definitely call GoDaddy and have them walk you through that, and that's the proper way to get that forward. All right, so let's move on to another question here. Let's see. So Dewey is just saying that he's looking forward to the automatic merge function because he's been using the tab method that I showed earlier. All right, so let's see here. We didn't get any additional questions that I can see. So I'll give everybody, well, we're actually at 10:30, so this is actually great. We are on time for the half-an-hour call, which is awesome. One thing in kind of closing, and we don't have any more questions, so I want to kind of end this call here, and then we'll have another call, not Monday, because I actually will not be in the office Monday, but next Thursday we'll have the next call. It's on the GoTo webinar schedule there, and you'll get an email from GoToWebinar when we have that next call. But it will be Thursday, not Monday, and we're just basically skipping a session there. But one thing I do want to mention is we do have these 2-day classes that for the Investment Dominator that cover both the Investment Dominator and the NJAX technique all in one class. It's a 2-day class. It's a very small class where Jack is there teaching and I'm there teaching. We only, at the very most, have 10 people or so in the room, so it's very hands-on. We walk around, make sure that everybody's doing everything that we ask. And so if somebody has a lot of questions, needs more of like hands-on help, I just wanted to mention that we do have that option. You can get information about that on this site right here. It's investmentdominator.com/workshop. Okay, this has a little video about it, and here's our upcoming ones. It's May 8th and 9th, and then also June 29th and 30th. So again, this is a 2-day workshop, maximum 10 people in the room, and Jack teaches it, I teach it, and it's from start to finish how Jack's techniques work alongside the Investment Dominator, exactly what we do, all the processes we have, and you really walk away with everything you really need to know about how we, not only how we do deals, but how does it relate to our internal processes, and how do we take calls, make offers, market the property. All that is covered in these 2 days. So we have a lot of great feedback from it. If you're interested in it, attending like these upcoming ones, talk to your advisors about it, John or Janice, give them a call, and then they could tell you all the details. We don't have much details on the actual site itself, other than the dates, and you can buy tickets on there, but they can let you know all the details of these 2-day workshops if you're interested in that. All right, that's the last thing I wanted to cover. Again, I'll see you next Thursday if you want to jump on these calls. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please go to help and fill out the middle. Click on this one that says need to report an issue. It's the middle one here, and report it here. Somebody from our office will answer while I'm out next week. So you want to make sure you do it this way rather than just going through our regular support area or calling in. This is the proper way to contact us regarding the Investment Dominator. All right, I hope you guys have a great holiday weekend, long weekend, however you look at it, and I will see you next week. Bye.